All right, let's talk about turning your kitchen into your own personal, high-end cafe. Today, we are going on a deep dive, a journey to really master the art and the science of pulling that absolutely perfect espresso shot right at home.
So, you've got the awesome machine, you bought the fancy beans, but something's just off, right? You pull a shot and it doesn't have that magic you get from your favorite barista. What are they doing that you're not? It's the question that drives so many of us coffee lovers crazy.
Well, the answer is actually pretty simple, even though putting it into practice can be a lifelong pursuit. It all comes down to one word: control. Mastering your espresso means you are in command of every single variable, from the moment you pick up the beans to the final drop in the cup. So, let's break down what that really looks like.
And that control, it starts way before any water even thinks about hitting the coffee. It all begins with the grind. I can't stress this enough. This is the absolute foundation of your coffee's flavor. If you get this part wrong, honestly, nothing else you do is going to matter.
Oh man, we have all been there. You finish grinding and poof, the grounds just explode everywhere. They're clinging to the grinder, all over the counter, all over your hands. It's more than just a mess, though. That static can seriously mess with your dose, making it inconsistent. So how do the pros get around this? They use this little trick called RDT, which stands for the Ross Droplet Technique. Yeah, it sounds super technical, but it's one of the most simple and elegant solutions you'll ever see. All it takes is a tiny bit of water to completely neutralize that static. It's like magic.
And check out how easy this is. You just measure out your beans like you normally would, then you take a little spray bottle, give them 2 or 3 quick spritzes of water, give it a little shake to make sure all the beans get a nice even coat, and that's literally it. Problem solved, no more static.
Okay, here's another pro tip for making sure every shot is amazing. See those silicone bellows on top of the grinder? After every single grind, you give that a few quick pumps. It shoots a blast of air through the grinding chamber and clears out any leftover grounds or little bits of chaff. This is huge because it means every dose you grind is 100% fresh, with none of the stale stuff from your last shot hanging around.
All right, so our grounds are fluffy, static-free, and perfectly dosed. Now we turn to the heart of the operation, the machine itself. This is where we get to play with the 2 most powerful forces in the espresso world: heat and pressure.
So let's talk about taste for a second. That shot you just pulled, was it kind of sharp and sour, making you pucker your lips? Or was it harsh and bitter, almost burnt tasting? You know, those aren't just random bad flavors. They're clues. Your coffee is literally telling you what's wrong. And you know what? A lot of the time, the culprit is your temperature. The heat of the water you're using is probably the most powerful tool you have for steering the flavor and finding that perfect, delicious balance in the cup.
Now check this out. This chart, using info from the ProFitTech Pro 400 manual, makes it all so clear. Just look at the relationship between temperature and taste. At the cooler setting, around 90 degrees Celsius, you see that acidity is higher, but the bitterness is way down. But then, when you crank it all the way up to the hot setting, around 98 degrees, whoa, that bitterness just skyrockets. That little temperature switch on your machine, it's not just a switch, it's a flavor dial.
So here's the simple rule of thumb you can use right away. If you've got a dark, oily, super roasty bean, you're probably going to want to use a cooler temperature. That'll keep you from pulling out too many of those bitter flavors. But on the flip side, if you have a bright, fruity, acidic coffee, adding a little more heat can tame that acidity and really bring out the sweetness. Okay, so we've got the grind down and we understand temperature. Now it's time to level up. Let's get into the really fine-tuned stuff where we can take even more control over the extraction itself. And we're going to do that with something called pre-infusion. So, before the machine hits your coffee with the full 9 bars of pressure, pre-infusion gently soaks the coffee puck with low-pressure water first. Think of it as waking the coffee up. It lets the ground swell up nice and evenly, which helps prevent something called channeling. That's when water just drills a little hole through the puck and you get a weak, watery, totally under-extracted shot. Pre-infusion is your defense against that. So how do you turn this thing on? Well, on a machine like this, it's kind of like a secret code you enter with the switches before you even pull the shot. The exact steps are going to be different for different machines, but the result is always the same. You've just unlocked a feature that gives you so much more say over how evenly that water flows through your coffee.
You know, when you start combining all these little techniques, the RDT, the temperature control, the pre-infusion, the whole process becomes so much more hands-on. Your gear stops feeling like just another kitchen appliance, and it starts to feel more like a personal instrument. It's something you learn, you tune, and you play to create something truly beautiful. But just like any finely tuned instrument, your equipment needs to be taken care of. So the last piece of this puzzle isn't really a technique you perform on the coffee, but a habit you build for your machine. We're talking about the rituals of care that make sure your gear is always ready to perform at its best, day in and day out.
Just think of it like this. A clean machine is a consistent machine. Doing this simple daily stuff, like wiping things down, prevents gunk from building up. And then doing the periodic deep cleans, like back flushing, guarantees that your machine will run great and your coffee will taste pure for years to come. It's what makes sure every shot tastes just as good as the last. And in the end, it really all comes back to this one fundamental truth, which is stated perfectly right in the user manual. An optimal coffee result is only possible with freshly ground coffee. It's just a great reminder that every single step, starting with fresh beans, absolutely matters.
And you know, that really is the secret, isn't it? Mastery isn't some destination you arrive at. It's not about pulling that one single flawless, life-changing shot. No, it's about falling in love with the process, the daily ritual, the constant experimenting, and the pure joy of discovering something new in every single cup. So now you have the keys. You have the tools to control the grind, to control the temperature, and to control the extraction. The instrument is officially in your hands. So the only question left is, what are you going to create with it?